Hey guys, Andrew Shrout. I'm here in the sideboard. I'm sitting with Braun-Duin. How's it going, Brian?
It is going excellent.
All right, cool. So you have shown up today not with Junk Constellation, the deck
Correct.
that you nearly top-8'd with last week.
Correct.
You have shown up with Junk Reanimator.
Yeah, I like the Junk colors a lot.
Sure.
Is that a thing?
That's
yeah.
okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I would like to know what's the deal with this change?
All right, so the Junk Constellation deck is actually really good. I wrote an article about it. I played it last week and it was like awesome. I really enjoyed it. However, it's not that great against monsters.
Okay.
Monsters is kind of a rough matchup, and I expected to see a lot of monsters here.
Sure.
So I was digging deep into the well for a deck that's actually good against monsters.
Okay.
And there really aren't that many. Like that, monsters is just really, really good. And the two decks that I could think of that were good against monsters were the green-black dredge deck.
Sure.
And then Junk Reanimator. And I was losing on Moto with the green-black dredge deck to literally everything, so I decided I would go with Junk Reanimator instead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went to graveyard strategies broadly then, and just kind of decided this was the best one?
Yeah, and Reanimator is also extremely good against mono black as well.
Okay.
So I think having a deck that's good against like both of those two core strategies is like a fine place to be.
Sure, that makes sense. So this deck it's kind of like a bigger mid-range deck, really, but it has kind of a reanimation side package, I suppose.
Yeah.
You have 4 Grizzly Salvage, 4 Stater Wayfinder, and those are your ways to put things into the graveyard. Then you have 4 Obzudat's Aid and 2 Whip of Erebos to kind of draw them back out.
Yeah, so there is that like reanimation element, but unlike a like true Reanimator deck, I'm actually fine never casting an Obzudat Aid.
Sure.
I had a match earlier where Grizzly Salvage and Stater Wayfinder milled over all 4 Obzudat Aid and a Whip.
Okay.
And I just won by like casting Obzudat, casting Elspeth, casting Vraska, like just playing big things anyway. Like I don't actually need to reanimate to win. It's just another element to the deck that like, you know, it lets your Obzudat Aid be like a Vraska, an Obzudat, an Elspeth, or, you know, a basic land forest sometimes.
Okay.
You know, whatever you need.
Fair enough. The big, like, I guess reanimation target, quote unquote, here is Sylvan Primordial. You have 3 of those.
Yep.
Tell me a little about that card.
So Sylvan Primordial has a big old body.
Sure.
And has reach, so that's important right there. Blocks Desecration Demon, blocks Stormbreath Dragon.
Okay.
Pretty important in the metagame right now, but also blows up a non-creature permanent, and that's like really good with all the planeswalkers that people are playing. And I have blown up the land that has an Underworld Connections on it like 5 times today.
Nice. Okay.
So there's a lot of value to be had with Sylvan Primordial, and the reason I like it more than a card like Ashen Rider or Angel Serenity is because like Ashen Rider costs 8, and like I hard cast Primordial more than I reanimate it.
Sure.
So costing 8's a big deal. Also, the mana cost is sometimes restrictive. And then with Angel Serenity, it can't blow up lands or planeswalkers,
right,
which is like a huge knock to it. And like decks like Mono Black can just kill it with the trigger on the stack, and you don't really get that much out of it.
Okay. So being able to knock off Underworld Connections, the Tension Spheres, things like that. More important than being able to sweep creatures anyway, probably.
Yeah, and there's like a lot of added value too in like getting a land. You can gain life with Courser, and it helps ramp you into like fueling later plays.
Okay.
Like you can play a Primordial, blow something up, get a land, or even Obzudat Aid a Primordial, get a land, they kill it, but the land that you got like gave you your 8th mana to play a Whip and whip it back or whatever. Okay. There's just a lot of value to be had there.
Okay, cool. The one addition to this deck from Journey into Nyx, I know you were playing this deck for a while, in the previous season.
Yeah.
But you have added Banishing Light to the deck.
I have added that.
This is a big addition. You can target Banishing Light with Obzudat's Aid.
Yes.
So how important is that card to the deck?
Very important. One of the hardest cards to beat for this deck was the card Jace, Architect of Thought.
Sure.
They would play a Jace on 4, and I would have Satyr Wayfinder, Elvish Mystic, and Courser Crufix, and I would just be like kind of flailing helplessly.
Right.
And I would eventually what I would have to do is I'd have to Primordial their Jace, and then I would lose to like an Elspeth.
Okay.
So that was a big issue I was having against decks like Esper Control. So having Banishing Light is now like another answer to a Planeswalker like that, which is huge, and lets me save my like Vraskas and Primordials for their bigger things. So that's one of the main calls to Banishing Light, but it's also just very good in almost every matchup.
Sure.
And like you said, you can Obzudat Aid it back into play.
Yeah.
Which is pretty key a lot of times where like you need to get a removal spell, and having Vraska and Banishing Light gives you like 2 options to Obzudat Aid back.
All right, sure. Can't go wrong with an Oblivion Ring, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right, so what are you hoping to play against with this deck?
Well, I've played like green-black-ish, you know, mono-black style decks four rounds today, and I I am 4-0-1 against them, or 3-0-1 against them.
Okay.
So that matchup's just great. I want to play against that just all day long. And I also like I said, monsters. I think is a pretty good matchup. So.
All right, so those are the big ones you're hoping to find.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to avoid? What's your bad matchup with this
So I have a special name for the deck, which I will not repeat because it is not airworthy, but it does involve
we won't allow it.
my disdain towards Fire Drake Crusader, as I have 14 copies. I have 14 cards in my deck that cost 5 mana or more. So Fire Drake Crusader is my #1 enemy, and in fact, I just lost to it last round.
Okay.
My opponent led on Fire Drake Crusader, and I signed the slip and walked away.
All right.
Didn't even play the match.
So that's not true. I sat and watched the whole thing. It was a match. He lost it. But okay. So basically, aggression then is the bad matchup.
Hyper aggressive aggro decks are definitely the worst matchup.
Okay.
Mono blue can sometimes be bad. I actually think it's a good matchup, but if they have like the draw where they curve into Master of Waves real fast, you're probably gonna lose. So that's the only draw that like really beats you, because I don't have that. I have like Demon and Vraska and Vanishing Light, and that's really it. So if they have like a quick master, I can fall behind and die. But beyond that, I think most matchups are actually pretty good. I actually think this deck's really good.
Okay, cool. All right, well, so you're sitting at 4-1-1 now. Then.
I am, yeah.
So you got the win out and hope.
Yeah, win out and hope for breakers. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'll be rooting for you. Thanks for sitting down with me.
Yeah, no problem.
Stick around. We've got plenty more coverage coming of the Standard Open here in Providence.